Welcome to episode 12 of the Rotor Boys podcast. I'm Hayden Pretty, and I'm joined by my co-host, Gavin Atkinson, and today's special guest, Riley Witt. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. This episode is going to be a little bit different about topics and stuff, but without further ado, let's jump right in. But before we start, Riley, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of the brand for people that don't already know you.
I'm Riley Witt, the CEO and founder of Bicarb.Shop, a deeper and more effective alternative to the leading bicarb brands for lactic acid buffering and sports performance. It's the most effective sports performance supplement out there for metabolic sports. If you are getting lactic, this supplement will help.
I like that, yeah. And for our first question of the day, for people who have never heard of this before, what does sodium bicarbonate actually do in the body and for the body as a performance athlete?
Sodium bicarbonate is baking soda. If you guys go to your cupboard, you probably all have this supplement already in your house. I'll get into the reason why you can't just take that supplement and why our supplement is more effective and more special. Essentially, it is a massive buffer. Our body uses bicarbonate as a natural buffer in the Krebs cycle. So when you're producing energy, you're producing ATP. There's some metabolic waste products and off products. And those waste products, like hydrogen ions, wreak havoc in the body. And if you have more of those hydrogen ions, from running faster, you're going to produce more of those. From running longer, you're going to produce more of those. And when you get to a certain level of those hydrogen ions, you have to slow down or stop. So our product goes in and mops up or cleans up some of those metabolic waste products like hydrogen ions so you can run faster or further with the same or less cost.
Nice. Yeah, for sure. And our second question is, did you come from a sports background or did you just kind of discover this through I guess you could say scientific research, or was it more sports based from your personal experience?
Yeah, so my major in college is exercise science, so I'm an exercise scientist by trade, I guess you could say. I'm also an athlete myself. I'm still competitively running. Came about this actually in high school. I started taking just baking soda and mixing it with water or Gatorade and shooting it sometimes 2 or 3 hours before my races. And honestly, I didn't see too much of a benefit. I had some stomach issues with it. I just found this through research. In high school, I wasn't really reading research. It was probably a YouTube video or something somewhere, or a running forum. But it was kind of just an idea. I knew it was there. I knew it was effective. It wasn't until late when I was putting together a running course, a course on athletic performance and more advanced athletic performance, when I really dove deeply into supplementation and some more fringe tactics on supplementation and how to make you a better athlete from that. Not just your typical, vitamin C, vitamin D supplements that you can get at Walmart, but more actually things that are going to move the dial and make you a better athlete or a better human. And that rose to the top as one of the most effective ways of doing it. It just came with so many side effects that people really haven't seen the massive benefits that it can actually give you until this new hydrogel technology came. And then we can actually see some serious benefits without the side effects. So I used to take another brand myself as an athlete. I had all my personal best come from taking it with that supplement. And I realized as an exercise scientist that my benefits were kind of limited because I was only taking it for races. If I wanted to see the maximum benefit, I needed to take it also for workouts. The problem was the price point. And because it was $17 to $20 a serving, frankly, I couldn't afford it to take it for all of my workouts as well. So I developed our own that's superior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
And so is it meant for any time that lactic acid would be building up while you're running?
Yeah, absolutely. I take it for every workout. I drink my own Kool-Aid type of thing. I take it for threshold stuff where lactate isn't very high. But of course, I certainly take it for the acidosis type workouts or the VO2 max type workouts where lactate is high and you'll have massive amounts of it in your bloodstream and you want to just soak that up. So recovery is better and the performance in the workout is significantly better.
Mm-hmm. Our third question is, besides bicarb, what's the most underrated and overrated supplement on the market right now?
The most overrated supplement right now, by far, without a doubt, is electrolytes. The industry is a scam. I am all for electrolytes. I think they're very beneficial and I think they're very important for the human body. But the way that they are approaching the market, flooding the market with inferior formulas. It's absolutely ridiculous prices. And some of them, the flavors even suck. Like if you have an electrolyte company, your flavor better rock because you're literally just paying for salt, potassium, and magnesium with flavoring. So your flavoring better rock if you're an electrolyte company, else it is literally a scam. So sure, I'll buy electrolyte supplements, but only because I like the taste. If I want to make an electrolyte supplement, I would not have the formula that these guys are having. Like maybe I shouldn't call out a name, but the big names, you guys know who I'm talking about. What a
Yeah, for sure.
scam. You know, don't use that stuff. It's unless you like the taste, and I do. So that is
Yeah.
definitely the most overrated supplement on the market is all of the electrolytes. There's one brand, I won't call them out, but that's the only brand right now that I could put my money behind. But I still probably wouldn't put my money behind them because I can do it myself for way cheaper. The most underrated supplement right now, I have to say sodium bicarbonate. I have to say bicarb, and bicarb in the way that we are bringing it to the market. I think we are still very underground. It's getting around in the market, and a lot of people are seeing it on Instagram and whatever else from our marketing. But I still think it's very underrated, and we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg for performance movements. Like we just saw Cooper House just won the 800-meter world title as a 17-year-old. Absolutely bonkers. He ran 144 as a 17-year-old. Like insane. We're seeing crazy performance benefits from that 800 to 1500. And a lot of that is coming from this supplement, coming from bicarb. We saw the wave early on with the 5K, 10K, with the trackflation wave, and that was pretty much just because of Boston.
On the electrolytes, are you saying that like we don't need them as much as we think, or are you saying that there's other ways we should be getting them as opposed to taking those supplements?
Good clarification. No, you need them. You certainly need them. But the dosages and formulas that these supplement companies are giving you are typically way underdosed for athletes. The ratio is not exactly what you need. Most of them are just sodium, just salt. And to me, that is the easiest electrolyte to get. I'll just salt my food more. We have a built-in mechanism in our biology that preferences or prefers foods that are salty if you're lacking in sodium. So there is a rare case in which you're going to be sodium deficient as an athlete if you listen to your tongue, if you listen to your appetite, if you listen to what your body actually needs. If you're in tune enough, you'll know exactly how much salt you need. Your body will be like, just craving more salt. You'll be wondering why you want those potato chips that are pickle flavored and you don't really like the taste of it, but you just want them. Like, why is this happening? You'll realize that you've drank so much water, you sweat a ton, and you need more sodium. They're overdosing on the sodium and underdosing on the magnesium and potassium and other trace minerals. Yes, you need them. Be on the lookout for correct profiles of those and correct ratios, and maybe get one that's higher in magnesium and potassium. And just salt your food more.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like it's not necessarily going to be detrimental to your performance, but it's not going to be like a huge boost. It's just like basically filler crap.
It's flavored water. And I see the benefits in it because sometimes I get bored of just drinking water. Like I'm in a sauna and I'm chugging water or something like that. I'm in a hot day chugging water. I don't want to keep drinking more water, even though I might need to. Some flavor is helpful. So I don't hate that either, just drinking it for the flavor aspect because you can just get more liquid in.
Yeah, that makes sense. Our fourth question of the day is, what problem were you trying to solve when you started the company?
That's easy. Just the price point. The product on the market worked. We knew that. We were seeing it with elite level athletes. I was seeing it with myself. Just needed to get the price point down. When a product works and you have a monopoly on the market, they exploit that to the best of their abilities and they're killing it with it. Hammer the price because people are still going to buy it because it works. So there needed to be a competitor. There needed to be a competitor on the market to bring fair competition and to lower that price. They haven't waived at all on their price, even though we've come to the market, but it might have to change eventually when we're taking, more of the market share. They might have to lower it. So the problem was the price, and we went and fixed that, but we also fixed some other issues in the industry as well.
Yeah, I love to see it. And for our fifth question today, it's what's the biggest myth about supplements in the performance world?
The biggest myth about supplements is the ones you're seeing on Instagram, the ones that you're Googling, how to run a faster 800, how to run a faster 5K. best supplements for distance runners, the ones that pop up on Google are not going to work. Like, they're not effective. The stuff that's mainstream, the stuff that's out there, you're going to see very little performance benefits from them. If you really want to see massive improvements, you have to do a lot more research than just the stuff that's out there. Like, sure, caffeine's going to work. It's going to do great. Sure, beetroot might work for some people, but for the vast majority, this is going to be just small little incremental edges that isn't super noticeable. You have to have a pretty good and pretty deep understanding of supplements and how they work in the body. You just can't look up a supplement, say it's good for running, take it and expect to see a benefit from it. You actually need to know the mechanism of action, what it's doing in the body, and then you can formulate a protocol and timing around that to actually see the benefits that the studies or the papers might show.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because, like, what comes to mind when I think of that is, like, McDonald's or Taco Bell. Like, when it becomes so mainstream, it's just so optimized that it's not like, obviously, Taco Bell and McDonald's isn't organic, but, like, even these supplements, like, they become so mainstream that, like, their whole thing is optimized and they just want to make it as cheap as possible to get it out to as many people so they can sell more of it. And so, like you said, like, the smaller companies, I mean, they're putting out quality items that, and they're not compromising because they're not necessarily mass producing it like the big companies.
Of course. Absolutely. It's a great example.
Our sixth question of the day is, what's something about performance or health that you believe that most people disagree with?
The one thing I see on Instagram a lot right now is people hopping in a sauna, hopping in a hot bath, and calling it recovery. They're hopping in the sauna and saying this is like helping my recovery. And sure, it's helping with circulation. Sure, it's helping with, blood flows, which indirectly, I guess, helps with recovery. Boost growth hormone, which is good for recovery. But if you're hopping in a sauna after a hard workout and saying this is helping your recovery, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. The sauna is a hard activity. If you're in a real sauna for a real amount of time, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be taxing on the nervous system. It's going to be taxing on the body, not recovering it. So sauna and hot baths, incredible tool, great tool. But I'm going to disagree, and if I understand your question right, I'm going to disagree with the mainstream idea that it is good for recovery. It is an added stimulus, and you can think of it as a workout. So if you're overtrained, don't hop in the sauna. That's going to make it worse.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And for our seventh question of the day, it's how long does it normally take for an average athlete to see a noticeable difference from a new supplement, such as Bicarb or other things like that?
A little bit too generic of a question, because if it's bicarb, you'll notice the effect in 90 minutes to 2 hours. You'll notice it on the first time you take it. For caffeine, it's a nervous system stimulant, so you'll notice it 30 minutes after you take it, and you'll notice it on the first time you take it. But something like beta-alanine or something like that is another lactic acid buffer. You have to take that for 4 weeks before you'll notice any benefit from it. So a little bit of a nuanced question, and it would depend on what supplement you're taking.
I would say, like, to make it more specific, the more you take it, does it benefit you more, or is it just the same stimulus? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're going to notice that the buffering effect the first time you take bicarb. The added benefits you're going to get from it is just added stimulus from running faster. Because you can run 2 to 4% faster in workouts, in races, from this supplement, you're going to get added benefits, compounding benefits, but not necessarily from the supplement itself directly, but indirectly from better workouts and better races. The stimulus is just higher.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And question 8 is, I know you talk a lot about lactate and the whole bicarb thing. What are, like, the benefits of lactate, and basically, like, what does it do for the body with the product? Like, how does it stimulate that?
Yeah, if you look up or you ask a coach what bicarb is going to do, because a lot of coaches are going to understand or are going to be able to tell you that they've heard of it, or they've maybe taken it as an athlete themselves. They probably just scooped Arm & Hammer in a cup and shot it back when they were running. But they are going to tell you that it's going in and buffering lactic acid. It's taking some of that lactic acid and removing it from the body, which is completely wrong. I understand where they're getting at it, and I understand why they're saying it, just because it's a simple concept, but they don't understand what it's actually doing. When we run, we are producing metabolic waste products. One of those is hydrogen ions, like I said before. And actually, lactate is coming into the system to grab on to some of those hydrogen ions and act as a buffer itself. So lactate is a buffer, just like bicarb is a buffer. So lactate's going in there, grabbing onto a hydrogen ion and acting as a buffer, but it's also acting as a fuel. So one, it's acting as a buffer. Two is acting as a fuel. And then three, that signaling molecule. This is where it gets really interested, and a lot of people are missing the point. It is a signaling molecule. So when it gets into the system, it flips on a certain sequence of genes. And those genes are all related to performance. So PIF1 alpha, PGC1 alpha, these type of genes are activating more mitochondria. So because lactate's in the system, it's going to tell the body, hey, we need to deal with these things. Let's get more mitochondria in the system. So when you recover from that workout, you're going to have more mitochondria because of that lactate. It's also going to say, hey, we need more capillary density. So our capillaries, we needed those to move blood around. We need those for performance. It's going to say, hey, we need more of these. We need more dense capillaries. I can keep going, et cetera, et cetera. Don't want to bore your guys' audience. But basically, bicarb comes in and it takes some of those hydrogen ions so we can have more lactate for a set amount of workout with less or equal to the harsh stimulus. So like what it's going to take from working out. We can have more lactate without as much recovery required after a workout. So for the same workout, we can have more of those stimuluses, so more mitochondria, more capillary density, et cetera, with less of the cost to recover from it.
Another question I have is lactic acid is often seen as being correlated to kind of like how your legs start feeling heavy towards the end of the race. Is that a direct correlation between the amount of lactic acid and how much work you're having to put in to run the same pace, if that makes sense?
Absolutely, but it's not the lactic acid, it's the hydrogen ions. So I can do a workout, let's say 20 by 200 at 27 seconds, 28 seconds. You're going to be super lactic afterwards. If I do that without bicarb, probably won't be able to hit 27. I'll probably be able to hit 28s, and my millimoles of lactate after that workout are going to be 16, 17 millimoles of lactate. If I take bicarb before that workout, I could probably hit the 27s, but my millimoles of lactate is going to be 22. So I can actually tolerate more lactate because the 22 millimoles of lactate is the same amount of hydrogen ions as it was without it at the 16 or whatever I was saying. Yes, if you finish a race and you've got that super hard lactic acid feeling, it feels like a monkey's on your back and you're just, carrying bricks or something. Your hamstrings just feel like a knot. That's that acidity. That's the hydrogen ions. That's preventing your muscles from contracting and slowing those contractions down. So the bicarb is going to go in and mop some of that up so your contractions can keep happening. So you can keep running a little bit further, or you can run a little faster for that same duration.
So it's not the lactic acid that's the issue, it's the hydrogen ions that the lactic acid acts as a buffer for.
Bingo. Nailed it.
It's just we more commonly talk about lactic acid instead of the hydrogen ions.
Bingo. Absolutely. It's easy because our textbooks used to be written in that format. Our textbooks used to say, and probably still do, like if you take an exercise physiology class, it's probably still going to be written that way. The science is caught up. It just takes forever to get into academia. And it takes forever to redo the textbooks and get it actually right. But if you ask any professor right now, I guess that's not 80 years old, they'll tell you, it's not lactic acid, it's lactate and hydrogen ions. And the hydrogen ions is what's causing that acid misbalance and the issues.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And for our ninth question of the day, it's kind of an off-the-wall question, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. It's called the Bohr effect. Can you explain the Bohr effect to our audience and why over-breathing might actually be starving our tissues of oxygen?
Interesting question. I guess it kind of ties to bicarb because of bicarb's effect with carbon dioxide. And I might not be the best person to ask about it, but I'll do my best. I will occasionally do what's called Wim Hof, like Wim Hof breathing. I'm sure a lot of your listeners, probably you guys have heard of him. He's, this mountain hippie man who's developed this breathing technique that's basically, in a scientific way, it's called cyclic hyperventilation. And it's basically breathing in and breathing out very quickly, just like you're hyperventilating. And your question was, why might that type of breathing actually be less beneficial to oxygenate the tissues? And it's because you're breathing off CO2. So because you're doing that, you're breathing off CO2, you're activating your sympathetic nervous system pretty heavily. It's stressful and it's misbalancing the CO2. I can give you an example of this too. If you're on a plane, you start getting car sick or some anxiety or something, you're going to breathe into a bag. Why do you do this? You breathe into the bag because when you breathe out, it's more CO2 than when you breathe in. So that carbon dioxide, you're going to just flood the body with that carbon dioxide. It's going to calm you down until it doesn't. It's going to calm you down, and then you need to stop, because if you don't, you're going to get more anxiety from it. So we can see a direct effect that CO2 plays on your body. So there's a mind effect, but there's also a body effect where your muscles are going to be like, what's happening? Why are we stressed out with this hyperventilation? Why is the oxygen CO2 balance getting messed up? And then it's messing with the pH. So you're creating more lactate, you're creating more hydrogen ions. So breathing, heavily, fast, like that type of stuff. I know it was all over the place, but that cyclic hyperventilation is going to create more waste products because it's stressful for the body.
Very well said.
So is that kind of like why some coaches talk about how, like, during a race you can try like timing your breathing with your steps to make sure you're having a rhythmic breathing sequence, if that makes sense? Mm-hmm. Where it's like some people say, like, breathe out for 2 steps, breathe in for 2 steps, stuff like that.
I would say get a new coach. I mean, don't listen to that coach. He's grabbing his straws at that point. No, that's gonna be subconscious. If you're thinking about your breathing in your race, you're probably not doing it right. You need to just let that be unconscious, and your body will find the most efficient way of doing it. Your body will also balance that CO2 and oxygen balance in the best way possible with its own breathing rate. So if you're trying to artificially manipulate that in a race, you're looking at the wrong things.
And our 10th question of the day is metabolic health. What are the biggest health trends right now that you think are actually damaging people's metabolisms?
A lot of the times, people are just adding stressors to their lives, which is great. The whole health space is all about managing stressors and recovery. Stressors and recovery, and then progressing the stressors and progressing the recovery. So the people who are adding different modalities, whether that's sauna, whether that's ice bath, whether that's intermittent fasting, whether that's all different types of fads of diets, they're all stressing the body. And that's great. We should stress the body. Not as much as we can, but we should stress it a decent amount. But we also need to recover from those. And if you're an elite athlete, if you're a track athlete that is training hard, training to be the best, you are putting a lot of stress on the body. I'm running a couple doubles a week, so upwards of 10 times a week, upwards of 70 miles a week, and that's a lot of stress. You likely don't need to add more stresses to it. And if you are, you better be very calculated on how those stressors are going to play in the overall load. I guess it's called allostatic load. So if you can calculate your allostatic load, you can see how much stress your body's on with general training, and your body can handle more, then I say go for it. Add another stressor, add ice bath, add sauna. But if you can't, if you're barely managing just your training, you're barely managing for, I guess you said health, so a normal person that doesn't maybe work out that much, if you can barely handle your work stress and relational stresses, you better first work on those, make those less stressful, or up your recovery so you can handle more. Then you can add on other things. So I think that would be the biggest piece of health advice from the metabolic health standpoint, is your metabolism, your metabolic health can only handle so much.
That's good, yeah. And for our last question of the day, question 11 is, what's one thing that you would wish you could get out to everybody about bicarb? Whether it be a misconception, like you just wish you could get everybody who is like interested in bicarb, just like hear this one thing.
Take it once for a workout. Take it once or twice for a race. See the benefits. Be hyper aware of how you feel in the race, how you felt in a race when you didn't take it. Journal, write it down. Maybe look at some metrics like your watch. Look at the performance benefits you get from it, and look at it unbiasedly. Don't wish upon it that it's going to make you better. Don't wish upon it that you hope it doesn't make you better. Look upon it objectively. If you do that, small investment, and you don't see a benefit, don't ever take it ever again. I don't want you to take it ever again. It's a waste of money if you don't see a benefit. But I'm confident that I know the science behind it. and I know how it works on your physiology, I'm confident you will take it, you will see a benefit, and then it is a no-brainer. We're working very hard as athletes. At least I know myself is. Some people aren't. But I'm working incredibly hard to just recently break the 4-minute barrier in the mile. I ran 3:59 in the mile. I worked so incredibly hard to do that. A $35 investment, if I buy a large amount, if $6 per serving, if I am not willing to pay $6 a serving to run faster, I don't want it bad enough. Frankly, I just don't want it. You don't want to run fast enough, or bad enough, if you're not willing to put that investment in. I'm running countless miles. Are the people watching this? You guys are running countless miles. You guys are doing countless workouts. If you can't spend a small investment just to try it out, you don't want it bad enough. You should probably go back to the drawing board and maybe pick something else up that you're more passionate about. You have more drive for it. That you want it bad enough. If there was something out there that I could spend $10,000 and get a 5-second improvement in my mile, I would do it immediately. And I'm at a slightly different level than some people, but other people are at a different level than me, and that number is probably way higher. If it's truly something you're passionate about, if it's truly something you're working towards and you want it really badly, I think it's pretty ridiculous when I get emails or DMs or saying like $6 a serving, I can't do that. I'm like, well, that's fine. You don't want to run fast bad enough.
Yeah, it makes sense. Thank you so much for watching episode 12 of the Runner Boys podcast. Once again, I'm Hayden Pretty. I'm joined by my co-host, Gavin Atkinson. Thanks for joining us, Riley.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me. Yeah, well, best of luck to you guys in your running endeavors as well. But if you have any questions for the audience, reach out to me on the social media. Reach out to me as a personal social media or the Bicarb page, Bicarb.Shop on Instagram. Bicarb.Shop is the URL as well. So reach out with any questions. I'd be happy to help.
Yeah, sweet. Thanks, man.